welcome Kathy Baughman McLeod, my dear friend, that is going to be the first presenter. She is the CEO of HERA now. I want to really pay attention to our first presenter. Kathy, thank you for being with us. You are a real leader of humanitarian sector, the development sector, and also climate and heat waves. I know that for a long time. And I know that you are going to give us very important advice on how to continue, how to work together. I let you go first, and very happy to have you with us today. Please.
Thank you, Walter.
You can continue with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Delighted to be here. And hello to everybody. Yes, thank you. And Walter, yes, your friendship and work has been an inspiration to me for a very long time. So I'm very honored to be here. Let me share my screen and let us get to business. Okay. So I am the CEO and founder of HERA. That is the Heat Resilience Action, HERA, a Greek goddess who is the guardian of women. It means her action, heat era. It means love in Luo, a Kenyan language. It means diamond or Urdu in Hindi. It means the root of pregnancy in Hebrew, and the female form of hero. And so it's multi-purpose for us. And some of you know that we changed our name from Climate Resilience for All to HERA. And part of that is we didn't have heat in our name, and it wasn't clear that we were focused on women-centered solutions. And so we made a change to our name and our brand, and we did this red hot orange to communicate the urgency of this. And I had the benefit of some of the speakers in the first session in listening in and seeing that great work that lays the foundation for this conversation. But from my view and HERA's view, we are focused on delivering solutions that protect the income, health, and dignity of women on the front lines of extreme heat. And so you can see our vision here. And we know that when women are climate resilient, everyone is climate resilient, and women put 90% of what they make back into their communities. And gentlemen, your number is lower, and I'm counting on you. But right now, women are the best investment for investing in co-created solutions. And one of the things I want to make sure people take away from this conversation today is that women have to be in the conversation about how AI is used and leveraged for being better prepared for urban heat. And it's not a new idea. We know how to do this. This is all very doable, but there are systems working against this happening. And I want to talk about those as well. And then one of the points I want to emphasize today too is about the 24-hour challenge of heat. Nighttime temperatures are rising exponentially compared to daytime averages, and that a lot is driven by the urban heat island effect and other factors, population density, et cetera. But the nighttime is one of the places when we think about the role of AI and solutions for urban heat, we've got to be focused on nighttime solutions, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. And this, I know that we know, and we as a group here on this call, but we don't have the heat literacy we need as a community of practitioners to take this on. That heat literacy is just not there. And so we have to start every one of our conversations and presentations with what is it doing? And the more the field is growing, the more we understand the quantification, the human stories, and HERA is focused on telling those stories from a woman's perspective, what's happening in her life, her income, her family, the access to good food, and her ability to work. And we'll talk about some of the factors that are working against her. And one of them is that huge burden of care that women have. They don't get paid for it, and they're taking care of everybody, and they themselves are disproportionately impacted by the heat. And that's physiological and that is socioeconomic. We're going to unpack that a little bit today too. And let's see here. There we go. So I want to take just a moment to tell a story of what life is like for a woman working in 45-degree heat. And of course, it's not just the temperature, it's also the humidity. And there are other factors that are driving her body's experience with the heat. And one of them, we think that AI could play a role in solving, and we'll talk about that. But the data challenges of corroborating a human body experience and a financial product that is meant to support lost income or support healthcare needs. And so, which data sources are the most useful to marry that need with that financial product, particularly in a regulated financial product or insurance market? So we'll talk about that. So imagine this is you, this is your life. You wake up really early, not because you want to, but because that's how you have to get ahead of the heat and the work that you have to cook breakfast for your kids, get them off to school. Nighttime was really, really hot and humid, and you don't have fans or airflow. You live in an informal settlement. You have a metal roof over your head. The roof has been collecting heat all day long, emanating it into your home, and then you're over a hot stove, making breakfast, and you get your kids off to school. You yourself go work outside. You don't have protections of the law. You feel faint, dizzy, you have a rash, you may have a urinary tract infection because there's not a place for you to go to the bathroom safely. So you restrict your water intake because you don't want to expose yourself by having to go outside. So then you are dehydrated. If you are a menstruating, you're experiencing longer, heavier flows in your period. And those are intermittent, bleeding through the cycle longer and heavier, and that makes you anemic. And so you're tired from the heat, you're tired from the unpaid care of your kids and your seniors, and you are tired from being anemic. You're at work, you're trying to make it work, you're a seller of fruits and vegetables. You don't have access to an early warning system, and so you don't know that today and tomorrow are going to be 45 degrees. The things that you've bought to sell are going bad before you can sell them. So now your income is affected. And our calculation just in one of our communities in Freetown, Sierra Leone, is that women are losing 60% of their income to extreme heat. And so at market traders. So you get through the workday, you go home, the kids have met you at the market when they're done with their school. You walk home in the heat, and it's time to cook, and your time to help the kids with the homework, get them ready for bed. You have had the day in the heat, and you go to sleep, and it is again 40, 45 in your home. The kids are hot. They wake up, they come get in bed with you, and they're sweaty, and they don't feel good. And you wake up and you start that day again. We also know that gender-based violence is elevated during this time. Heat makes people cranky. It makes them short-tempered, and our brains work differently in the heat. And so women are seeing a huge uptake of domestic violence from the extreme heat. So we've got lots of impact: physical, socioeconomic, mental health, etc. So this is the story of 772 million women. That's how many women are working in the informal sector facing extreme heat. When you add 2 kids for every woman, which is just a rough estimate, that's 1.54 billion children with 772 million women. That's our focus. And that is a focus I'd like to bring AI to help solve the challenge of extreme heat for these women trying to make a living, raise the kids, contribute to the economy, and protect their health. a little bit about HERA. Just in the most basic terms, this is what we do. Inclusive insurance and financial solutions, heat, knowledge and training, urban and community resilience, and putting heat science in action, applied science, number one. I would put technology into the heat science in action category. And I'm hoping we'll have this discussion at the end of the panel about the role of AI. And I want to acknowledge, and I'm sure other panelists have, there are some real tangible, we're looking at them right now, risks of the data center storage needs of land, water, and power for handling this growth in AI. And so I want to, look at both sides of the coin and just acknowledge openly that there are extensive challenges and they're showing up in communities, and we all know about them, but we have immense opportunity and it is happening. So not naive to think that we can stop it or slow it down, or that we want to, but also just want to say out loud, those are real challenges. And the CEO of Exelon in the US said we will have blackouts from the need for air conditioning from the summer heat and the need for data centers to stay cool. And so we've got extra challenges to solve there. But back to HERA, this is just a snapshot of the work that we do against that mission to protect the health, income, and dignity of women on the front lines. So I want to, there we go, yeah. I want to talk a little bit about one of our programs. We are known for using insurance to support lost income from women suffering from extreme heat in the informal sector. And we have a program we launched at COP in Dubai in 2023 called the Women's Climate Shock Insurance and Livelihoods Initiative, WCSI for short. And the point here is that if we know women are losing money based on their health, we want them to survive and thrive in the face of heat. We need to replace their income or support the lost income. And how would an insurance product, a parametric insurance product, do that? And we tested that in the first year with 21,000 women, the next year 50,000 women, and the next year 225,000 women. And now we have 300,000 women in the program, and we've expanded to West Africa, Southeast Asia, and a project coming soon in Los Angeles in the US. So what this is a package. Insurance alone is not a solution in these communities at this income level. And I want to say that really clearly. We are not advocating go sell insurance to people facing these economic challenges. It is, does insurance work for this community, and how, in a package of other financial supports like a social protection of cash, something that physically reduces the risk, a tarp to cover your crops, a water thermos that lets you drink safe cold water during the day, gloves when the tools you use are too hot and they give you blisters, early warning systems. Are women getting access? Most of the women in our South Asia programs don't have a phone, or half of them have a phone in India, maybe 60%. There's a phone in the house, but they are not holding the phone. The husband, brother, son is holding the phone. And so how do we get early warnings so that people can make better decisions? And Mark I know that you covered that pretty well in the last session, but trusted channels of information, understanding what they are, and then making sure somebody has the capacity to take the advice, the actionable advice that's coming to them. That's really important. You can give great advice, but if you can't take it, so there's a package of supports around this insurance. And we had in 2024, for that huge heat wave that was so devastating, 6 members of our cohort lost their lives to heat while they were working. 92% of the group of the 50,000 got a payout somewhere between $8 and $20 US, and a cash support. Everybody got the cash support. And we have documented this experience and the potential for it in these other areas to be scaled in a document called Insurance to Impact, a guide to inclusive heat insurance. And I am glad to drop that into the chat, or perhaps one of my colleagues can do that. But I recommend that to you. And I'm going to talk about a couple of tools that we will offer. And Walter, I think this is a 20-minute slot. I just want to make sure I don't go past my time. But I'm going to spend a little time on the things where I think AI can play an important role in making it more efficient and more effective. And I think this is one of them because these packages require data, and the data that we get is inaccurate, slow, expensive. And so often the woman who is insured and waiting for this trigger to happen. And for those who don't know parametric insurance, it's something that pays out when the event happens. It's not the damage. And so if you had a kitchen fire, you're going to get an insurance payout that's based on a calculation of the loss. In this case, all you need is the trigger. So if the temperature hit X and the humidity hits Y, you get paid to your bank account in 10 days or less. We're working on how pre-positioned cash or a forecast-based insurance could work. And so lots of that work is taking place and very sophisticated. So we know that money coming after is not as helpful as money coming before. And so stay tuned, but I think AI could play a role in that too. Point is that this woman is standing on black asphalt, feeling the heat come up from the street. She's selling something, and the heat and the sun are coming down on her. She doesn't have shade. And the weather station that's triggering, the official place where the trigger for the insurance is 50 kilometers away at the airport. And that trigger says that it's 42. Her body is experiencing 48. So how are we going to get a regulated insurance market to acknowledge another data source that is more realistic to what she's experiencing? And there is a good bit of work going on right now, and there's a group that is using Fitbits to get the biometric data off, on the wearing on the wrist, other wearables and sensors, as we heard from Mark and others. And so there are ways to do this, but I think there's a role for AI to make this easier, faster, and better for the insured, as we call them, as the woman who is doing her work. So I'm going to keep going, but there's lots to say about how we could look into how this works. So when a pregnant woman is facing heat, there is an increase of 28% risk of stillborn, preterm birth, and miscarriage. And we have so many personal, there aren't words for how sad and heart-wrenching these stories are of women who have to work. They have to. And they'll choose work every time because they have to feed their families. And they lose their pregnancies or have very sad outcomes because of heat. We recently announced something called HERA Materna, which is on top of the insurance that from the WCSI, a pregnant woman is eligible for earlier payouts that are larger and more risk reducing aspects to help, like a solar powered fan, to help her stay cool and protect her health and the baby's health. And so we'll be rolling that out in Gujarat in 2027 with our partner, the Mahila Housing Trust. So wanted to share that this is one of the most heat susceptible moments in a person's life is pregnancy. It's also one of the most trying times for a woman's mental health is to be pregnant. And we're learning more and more about that. So back to the nighttime temperatures, we analyzed 100 cities and looked at how their nighttime temperatures are rising vis-a-vis the daytime. And so many of us are focused on the 1.5 degree increase that is as the maximum for in the Paris Accord. We don't want to go above that from the pre-industrial era. What we have found is that nighttime temperatures are increasing in cities at 13x the daytime. So while the world is watching an average daytime temperature and not wanting to go above 1.5, we're going like +6 and +7 in cities. And so if first of all, AI can definitely play a role in helping to make solutions nighttime savvy and risk informed. And what does that mean? And part of the work we're doing is to we'll be creating a bolt-on to any heat action plan that just ensures that your solutions are put through a nighttime lens and that you understand special nighttime risks and who is most vulnerable. for cities. And I'll show you a calculator that helps do some of the economic challenges also. But just as I described the story of Shashira, the woman that I showed you a photo of, her life, that nighttime experience is disproportionately burdening women. And but everyone feels terrible when they wake up. And that means your hand-eye coordination is off, you're making mistakes, no matter whether you are physically working or you're an office worker, your mind is slow. It's costing, and we've got some pretty powerful numbers of what it's costing. And like the GDP of Bangkok is reduced by 8%, given the effects of heat on worker productivity. I mean, it's just massive. And that is driven a lot by the motorbike industry, the sector of delivery and so many of the motorbikes. So I want to give you a flavor of that. And so I recommend this analysis to you, quite actionable to understand. There's some great data visualization here too, to maneuver around and see what's happening in cities. And the global north cities are not safe. I mean, the top most heated night is Melbourne, Australia. So take a look at this, and we can share the link with you. We also just released the City Heat Solutions Calculator. 11,000 cities in this calculator. We've calculated with our partner Mode Economics, what would it cost versus what would I have back in reduced losses, avoided loss of productivity in those cities if I did cool roofs or green space or heat response plans, labor protections, the income loss insurance that we've talked about. And so I also recommend this tool to you. It is a way for a city to think about what is the most cost-effective tool that I have. And we took the most evidence-based solutions. There are many, many more solutions, but we just to get it out there so people can start using it. There's a very robust methodology document that I would also recommend to those who want to see what's behind it. But take a look. Also, give us some feedback. If you see a place that can be improved or where there's a little glitch, please let us know. It's a new tool, but we will be improving it. And we put a lens on informal women workers so that we can understand disproportionate impact, and then also, disaggregate the data wherever we can. So take a look at this. And I'm sure you all saw this. I think the Secretary General was at a conference of some kind in China, made this comment this week. This isn't surprising, but important to know we have the support, at the highest levels to do this. This is a market trader you're seeing here in the Congo market in Freetown. She is one of the women losing 60% of her income when the heat season is most crushing. Now, question, how can AI help this? And I might leave this, I have some ideas, but I might leave this for the discussion part. It's meant to generate, no pun intended, some conversation, good ideas, and advice. But these challenges challenge us every day in co-delivering these solutions. And I should have said at the top, part of the way that HERA works is to start every engagement with a conversation with women. What's happening for you, your income, your kids, your family, all of that. And then what do you need? And then building those solutions together. And the early warnings are critical, as we know, as a community of practitioners. Mortality and morbidity data are critical for our being able to predict, by weather basin. We can do so much better health related heat prediction if we have access to mortality and morbidity data. And there are lots of places it is either not digitized or not available or suppressed. I mean, just full on suppressed, because we don't really know how many people. That number we have is 540,000 a year is, notional. I mean, we just know. And then also, as I said about these financial products, they're essential. How do we make them better? And how does AI help us do that? I know there are other categories, but to be succinct, I don't know if that's succinct at 20 minutes, but thank you very much for the opportunity. Let's get into the conversation as soon as we can. And our motto is strength in a hotter world. We know that it's achievable. Let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Kathy. Very powerful presentation and very clearly presenting the idea that women, individual women, are at the center of our possibilities to create solutions.